Hello guys and welcome to TFT Worlds, Day 1, Game number 6. Enjoy.
What kind of hero augments we get if we do get one, and really hoping to see these two players bring out something special.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting here. What I'm really hoping for is just like a later augment so we get that sort of normal pacing that we've seen before. I think the last few games have been sort of those early, stage 2 augments, so we'll have to see if that makes a difference here. Has the Infinity team ready to go here with the Sivir on bench, and we've seen that be a really good start, allowing you to get that early pacing and possibly do a full win streak in stage 2. So pretty good start there if he wants to play the Sivir. Hopefully can 2-star the front line. The 2-star Pantheon feels like it makes a big difference here.
Maybe angling towards Duelist, though, has a chance for that GP. Not the best items, though. The tier not going to be doing too much in Duelist, but the sword can be a death blade potential if you find a Vayne early as well. So a lot of possible options here.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, Shojin, if you get like the Vayne, that can be a play here. So we'll have to see. He'll probably do one of those things where he sells the Silas, buys the Gangplank, has the Rod. That makes it a little less Vayne and a little more AP based. But yeah, you can see he does that transition really quickly to get that Gangplank, and it's a 2-2-2, unfortunately.
At least it's 2-2-2, not 1-1-1, so I appreciate that for one.
Oh, Jinx for Juku. We talked about unusual lines, and we have it here. Anima Squad online. Not surprising, though. That's a Jinx 2, that's a Silas 2, that's 2 Nasus. What a start for Juku. I think maybe the first player that will actually pilot this Anima Squad into a successful game.
Yeah, we saw it earlier with the 7 Anima 4 Prankster, but yeah, this is definitely a much more unusual version, the Jinx. The Jinx comp to me feels like a really good like 3rd or 4th place comp. It can be really good, but it starts to fall off later, especially being that carry, unless you have just amazing items. But it can do so much in the early game.
Am I seeing correctly that both Ahawai and Regent Iverson are on Malphite augments?
It is Malphite support, it looks like, for both. So Guardian Spirit going to be a fantastic augment for that Lulu comp in general. But if someone else is playing the same thing in your lobby, that's not going to be the best of news.
Yeah, we move over to Hayden's spot here, and he took, the Annie augment. I'm guessing that's Burning Spirit. Doesn't pick it up, though, and is just kind of accepting the full loss streak here. If so, I would sort of expect to, hit that 10 gold and try to preserve that health here. So, kind of an interesting spot here, and we'll have to see what he does. But looking at we talked about the AP items, so this is kind of very clearly maybe like an Oxforce Spellslinger angle that he's clearly going to be going for.
Trying to find Prio for the bow, potentially have that Shiv guaranteed no matter what happens after this stage 2 carousel. Some upgrades coming in. You have a GP2 already, so maybe now switching into a bit of a win streak angle, or potentially thinking about, he has to have his GP in, right? It might be a level 4 here. This is definitely a board that can win streak, I think, or Guide the Team especially.
Yeah, it's the fact that he already lost the round is the tough part.
Yeah, we're looking on our augment overlay 2 players on Spirit of the Exile, 2 players on Guardian Spirit, and then we have a little bit of a mix and matching, Unrelenting Force being picked up, Time and a Half being picked up, Burning Spirit, and something I'm sure I'm looking over to Niberia, who usually gets very excited for this particular augment. Get excited on Juku, as you already called it out, Panda.
The big thing with the Anima Squad is you have to have this very good start. It's, Fernando was mentioning the opposite of Underground, basically, where if you don't have upgrades, if you think you're kind of strong but not super strong, and you end up faltering at any point in stage 2 and stage 3, you don't get stacks, you don't get, the trait itself does not get stronger, you don't scale up that damage. At the time that stage 4 rolls around, you're too weak, and there's really not really a way to salvage it in most of those games.
Yeah, the augment I wanted to talk about that somebody took was an Unrelenting Force, that Vi carry augment. That's an augment that for a long time has kind of been underappreciated, because it's a free 4th item. It's really powerful, and if you can get that Vi 3 going, that does a ton of work here. And the fact that you have the underground start, that means you can end up with a Vi 3 that ends up with something like a Radiant Stone Plate or something like that, and that can be just insane to deal with, because not only is she tanky, but she's also applying that armor shred, she's self-shielding and doing a ton of damage.
Yeah, and it comes from Flancy, a player that Froden in the past has been shouting out for being a little bit different from the rest of the Chinese meta, for being a little bit more creative, a little bit more open to playing lines that usually we don't see a lot from that region. So it's very much on brand to see that Unrelenting Force from him specifically.
And of course, there are 2 angles playing this augment. All it does is give you very, very stable frontline. So overall, you have the choice to play Ezreal reroll. At the beginning, players thought you can only play with Ezreal carry. Not so much the case. If you have a very strong frontline, it's also viable to reroll for Ezreal and find that 3-star and just itemize him with a JG and a blue buff. Doesn't have any of those components yet, though, so I think most of what his game plan might look like in stage 3 and 4 for will be dependent on the items he gets here. You can't just play for maybe a standard kind of Belveth backline or really anything that works well with a strong front line.
So it's interesting, we have a 3 spatula carousel, and these have kind of gone down in popularity because people look at spatulas and they're like, I'm giving up a component for that spatula. So unless I've committed to a line that's going to take advantage of it, something like the Infiniteam, the Mascot, the Duelist, things like that, then it's not really worth taking. And we're kind of seeing that now, right? Like, of the 3 spatulas, 1 got taken at the end and 1's going to get left there.
And Juku picks up literally an Anima Squad spatula on the unit already built, so perfect planning for the North American player.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about, right? That's a great example where he can just take advantage of that. That's going to give him 5 Anima Squad, hopefully pretty quickly here. We see the instant slam. It's going to give him 2 Mascot, which, again, very good early. I like the Gunblade slam here as well. If he can get some tank items on this Silas, I almost expected if he's going to reroll for the Silas as well, because that can allow him to reroll for the Silas, the Jinx, and have a really stable front line. And this is where Anima can be successful.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Anima go top 4 a couple of times already, so I'm actually quite surprised where it's coming in the tournament. I ranked it a little bit lower, only to like get into those placements in very specific situations, but thus far it seems to be okay to at least break into those top 4, and we're seeing a little bit of damage coming out on the other side from Replay, who's also on the Spirit of the Exiles, has that Ash 2 with the laser core already, and able to Deathblade is really, really strong early on.
For someone that likes playing AD Flex, Replay is in a fantastic position. Upgraded board, a Deathblade already slammed. I think it's his favorite item in this patch. I'm not surprised to hear it alongside RFC. He loves playing Belveth as well. So I think some players are having their dream starts. Their comfort zone is coming through. And I'm just curious to see what ends up happening with these boards that are now win streaking when they end up facing against each other.
Yeah, I like this micro-optimization here. Now that Juku lost the round, he's going to go ahead and take out that Vex, take out Mascot, sell that, try to hit 20 here. I could see him. He's going to keep the Gangplank in, so that's going to allow him to force it Silas here because he knows he's trying to hit 20. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what front line he builds around here because clearly he's going with the Jinx and he's got that Anima Squad emblem. So will he transition that really well?
And the components for Kerfuzzle are going to be so important off of these Krugs. He needs to find some of that extra AD for this time and a half Sivir. Kerfuzzle played a lot of Infiniteam in EMEA Finals, another comfort zone player.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of want to shout him out again, right? Kerfuzzle from the UK, he made it to regionals unexpectedly, I may say. We don't get a lot of players from that region in the EMEA circuit, and he has a massive following behind him. And I don't just mean Counterfeit, who's over there cheering him on. There's more people who really want to see him succeed, and he's been doing fantastic for himself, beating out everyone else at the Western Last Chance qualifier.
Yeah, so you look at the gold here, and everyone's pretty even in that 20 to 30 range, except for our 8th place, who's sitting at 52 with that perfect loss streak, but did lose 38 health. That is a lot of health to lose at this point. So, but we have seen those turn into, good 3rd and 2nd places here. Does get the blue buff here, has that Lulu. Will this be a big roll down for the Lulu 3? I think, I was talking about it last game that we were surprised we weren't seeing it. This might be the game where we see it.
Oh, another Lulu in the shop, and I think it is going to happen. Thus far, we're on 5 Lulu, but the roll down is going to commence in just a little bit. Pantheon and Lulu are what we're looking for. Pantheon 2 being found, Lulu 2. He needs 3 more if he wants a very stable game from here on out. That is what he needs to make it happen, to make the dream come alive. 1 more Lulu in the shop, 2 more that he would need. Does he keep going past the 30, or does he break here and try to find it later? He says, I'm going on a little bit further. I can do 1 more Lulu. He's 1 copy away. Can he find it, or does he rely on the odds?
So maybe the difference between having the Lulu support, or the Lulu augment itself rather than having that 9 Lulu already, instead has the Malphite support, but has perfect items. Ionic Spark and Blue Buff, the 2 most important items in this comp, have already been built. You have the Rod open as well for a Gunblade, so overall a very good spot the moment he hits all these upgrades.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot because we were comparing this to last time, right, where we saw the reroll players roll down all the way to 0, and we talked about how 30 was the conventional. This time staying at 20, has 8 Lulus right now, 6 Pantheons, so it's just a question
of... No, Axiomar! I didn't want to say it. Mortog is with us on the cast. I was trying to make sure no blessings came through.
That's an instant pick pick up for How I, and suddenly that Lulu, despite being Guardian Spirit, looks to be a menace for everybody else.
And we see Weijin, who was maybe thinking about also going Lulu reroll, has pivoted completely off of that, just playing for tempo now with that Guardian Spirit, trying to maybe pivot into something like the Mascot's board instead. So I think a very wise decision. I think overall Ahau had a lot more gold, was in a better spot with his items, and is now in a very good spot with the Axiom Arc as well.
So not to sing Axiom Arc Lulu's praises anymore, because I'm sure we don't need to hear that, but with the Malphite support augment in particular, those repeat casts are also going to be repeat heals.
Mortog, don't mention it.
And that's going to be even stronger. So it's a really good setup. It's not quite as good as like the Lulu carry augment, but it's definitely one of the better setups.
But he hasn't found the Lulu 3 just yet. I mean, I think it's only a matter of time, but during that time, gods can still bleed, so we'll see where it goes.
I think another big thing, though, is that a lot of these players, you know, these Worlds caliber players, have figured out what some of the counters are, right? Like, remember the Echo from the last game, right? They had that Dragon Claw and Warmogs. Lulu's going to struggle to take that out, because if Lulu can't get those resets, that's good. You know, you're just going to be stuck there, and Axiom Arcs is going to be useless. I think we've seen some Dragon Claw Garens be pretty successful as well, and so there's the Lulu 3. So definitely going to be spiking here, and now we're going to see a lot of damage pressure applied from this point on.
Especially once that Gunblade comes through, if he finds that next sword, and the Carousel can find a JG as well with the extra rod open. Overall, the items have been fantastic. I mean, everything that's happened until now for Ahau has been according to plan.
Yeah, and I mean, he has priority in the carousel, right? No matter what happens, he's so far away from the rest of the players that the gap is there. He will get first pick nonetheless, so chances are pretty good for him to find that BF sword.
Yeah, see, this is a great example of a fight where he can struggle, right? Because it's going to take a few casts to take down this Vi. You've got the Stone Plate, you've got the Bloodthirster. We're on the third cast and it still hasn't killed. The good news is his opponent doesn't have much of a backline, so he'll probably still win this fight. But again, this is an example where Lulu could falter. You know, and again, he doesn't really have the strongest front line here. Like, this is a surprisingly close fight for what you were expecting.
And it's not a Vi 3 yet. There's still a lot more ways to cap out this board. You mentioned a 4-item Vi. It's a 5-item Vi now with the JG as well. So we're just continuing to stack this Vi until she's really Unrelenting Force, completely unkillable.
Yeah, for sure. And so now we see the items here. It goes with the
JG first.
Gauntlet first, which makes sense because, again, you've got that healing. You want to get those resets to get those Axiom Arc procs. So I do like that pick. It's going to be a question of what is the third item, right? Because you go something like Guard Breaker now, do you go Giant Slayer? Or because you have that rod, do you do the more traditional Gunblade? But again, the Gunblade isn't going to get those procs. I actually think you'd go full damage here.
All right. We'll see where How I is going to pilot that comp. However, when speaking about the players at the low end, we also have to speak about the players at the high end. Replay still streaking. We're getting closer and closer to Wolves.
So that situation we just saw, he has 6 Vi's, he has a ton of health, and he has Underground. That is a great spot to be in. We see a lot of the times that the Underground players are really sort of struggling to keep their health up. He's got a ton of health here. He's got the 6-5. This is a great spot to be in. All he needs is some good backline damage items. You know, he found the Twisted Fate. If he can get some items for that, this is going to be amazing. If we can get that Vi 3 pretty quickly, this is an amazing spot. And then maybe like a Heist 3, Heist 4. But with this much health to play with, this is a great spot.
And for Tex, the two sides of the coin with Spirit of the Exile, we see one player replay sitting very healthy at 100 HP still on that win streak. On Tex's side, he's carrying a Draven. Ideally would be maybe a Vayne at this stage of the game, and he just does not have enough of a board to actually get value from that attack speed. The Draven, again, not the unit it was at the very start of this set, not really the premier carry, even as a 2-cost in the early game, and we're seeing the reason now Tex is down to 43. Weijin as well, having to pivot off of that Lulu reroll now at 41 HP.
Okay, I'm, however, going to bring it back to what I was going to say originally, because Replay is on 100 HP still, and he has committed a lot to keep that win streak going. He rolled down to 0. You can see it here. He has invested everything to make sure that the streak keeps on going, to build out a gap to the rest of the players. And with players like Flancy, who are in such a great position with the Undergrounds, with the Vi's, with such a tanky front line, this could be dangerous down the line.
Yeah, I agree completely. This is a really dangerous play. It's one of those plays that if it pays off, it looks brilliant, right? You're pushing that advantage.
Yes.
But the fact that you're now stuck on this Ashe, you didn't really hit any big 4-cost.
No Warwick.
Yeah, exactly. No Warwick. You're not even buying the Jhin here. You're stuck with the Garens. So, like, is going to win maybe this fight, but again, kind of struggling. And so, yeah, we see some of the struggles with the Lulu here. does get the full win streak, so that's great. But rolling down this much, this feels like a third or a fourth kind of situation.
Has to hope to find a natural Warwick in these next few shots without having to continue to roll further at level 7. Wants to go fast state if possible, because this is an expensive board to get together. You need a Mordekaiser 2 ideally to guarantee a top 4, potentially push for a first place. You need that Warwick 2 as well, and the switch from that Ashe onto the Warwick carry. A 1-star in stage 4 is not going to do enough here.
Yeah, to me, the bigger thing here is like Replay looks strong, but right now I'm looking at Flancy, right? 50 gold, 93 health while playing Underground, and we saw at least 6 Vi's, possibly more. This right now is the thing I'm looking at going, this is scary. This
damage items? We need some damage items.
Yeah. That's
only has that single rod for now. Has a JG though, it's going to help, of course.
Yeah, and so again, can we get that Vive pretty quickly here? Is actually one Ezreal away, so it's definitely going the Ezreal angle. But again, the Ezreal without anything like a blue buff, that's going to be a bit of a struggle as well. There's one. Okay, we're at 7 Vi's here. Yeah, but the good news is also, even if he doesn't get damage items now, he's approaching Heist 3. I'm expecting at least a Heist 4 here, and Heist 4 is where it starts to get really valuable. So you're going to get a bunch of items from that situation as well.
Yeah, for sure. Jukyu, however, finding another Jinx, and that is the
Jinx
3 coming through from the NA player here. However, we talked about it in the beginning so much. How I is still bleeding. 31 HP, falling further and further down the line. He needs to change something as we are approaching that next augment. Maybe could be the savior. He has found a win. Tech Summers, however, has found a loss in the last game.
This by doing so much, buying so much time, allowing these great losses to come through still for Flancy, who does have 4 Underground still, and that's going to be a perfect one-unit loss.
That's not even, that's
off
a
of the
0-unit loss. That is a 0-unit loss.
I stand corrected by the game's developer, so I know you're right.
That is so good. You couldn't ask for better, getting that bonus lock with 4 Underground. So getting a gold augment here, I do like, for our Lulu player here, they ended up getting makeshift armor. That's going to help that front line we were talking about being so incredibly weak right now. So that's just a ton of extra survivability. Also did end up slamming the gunblade we see, so that's another big spike.
Especially once those 3-stars come in, the extra HP, the makeshift armor is going to be so much more valuable as well. Really looking at this spike though, we need Flancy to hit some of these upgrades. Has almost the Vi online, needs just one more. I think at this point he maybe wants to roll, but let's remind each other that he still had 88 HP with 4 Underground in and a Vi 3.
All right, I'm not sure how long this Mordekaiser has been on board for Tech Summers, but we have found the 5 laser core with 0 gold and 10 losses down the tank. He needs to turn it around, and if that Mordekaiser does not have the power to do so, it's gonna hurt real bad. Ahau coming in, 2 players on Pantheon 3 with him and Kerfuzzled both, and it is hurting Tech Summers over here. He does not look happy about this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often you can go, hey, 11 loss, this isn't Fates with Fortune, so, being able to come back from this spot is going to be pretty tough, but, if he can turn this into a 6th, I think he's really happy.
I mean, he's so close to a spike. He has a duplicator. He can potentially duplicate the Mordekaiser if he finds one. He is level 8 already. But he has not found the Warwick yet, which would give him the 6 laser core as well, so it's just all about these last few rolls. Can he find it? He can sell the Samira off if he wants. I mean, she's still a 2-star, though. He needs damage somewhere.
Yeah.
This is a tough spot to be in. I mean, it looks great with the Fiddle and the Mordekaiser, but he's missing some key pieces.
He needs to win this round and then hope there's a Mordekaiser on the carousel. It's all going to come down to this, and you'd think you'd be fine. You've got the Samira, you've got 2 Sure Shot. It's not a terrible spot. It's just everyone else happens to be so much stronger right now. Does get an okay matchup here. It's a Jin 2 with 1 item.
This board just beat out Replay, who has been forcing the entire lobby into pressure. So Wajan Iverson doesn't have a bad board going for himself, but it looks like Tech Summer might just be able to take it down with Vex in the backline falling and the laser core at least getting some drone empowerment here. He does manage to claw this one out and move on to Carousel. Will there be a Mordekaiser?
And tougher Techs facing such strong players in a row. Didn't face Flancy yet, thankfully, but facing Ahau is kind of an Exodia player that you don't want to face in stage 4 now that he's hit his entire board. Mordekaiser, no, it will be the Fiddle.
Could go Fiddle too.
Yeah, also true. Is that going to be enough, though, to really sustain him throughout this stage 4, especially once he hits players like Flancy?
Yeah, Flancy in particular, I think, is just going to do so much damage. What'd he go for?
He is hovering. Wait. He is. Okay. That was scary.
Took the long route.
on.
You wanted the scenic. You wanted to check out the whole carousel. Say hi to all the players.
This? Anybody? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Flancy's still being at 88 health.
He's going to cash out, or at least have his heist proc right after this. So we're going to check in and see where he is at and what he's being offered as the heist comes in.
Yeah, I think the correct play here is keep going. You're at 88 health. You have
Vi
this
3.
This could be like a heist 5, heist 6 angle. You even have the Ezreal.
Why stop there, Mort?
Yeah, just go all the way. What
don't
was
know
the
about all
heist
the
that
way.
gives players your phone number? I remember a tweet of that caliber.
Yeah. But I mean, heist 5 and heist 6 especially is where it starts being really nutty. You start getting those like 100+ gold drops. And again, we talked about the strength of Vi, right? That unrelenting force is just so hard to take down. I love the Bloodthirster because it's allowing you to just heal that all back up. So that's just an amazing spot to be in.
Silver 3 Fricker follows as well, playing in his comfort zone, doing well with it as well. 45 HP in the top 3 in the HP standings when we're almost now at stage 5. Can he win here against Hayden? Going to be a little bit bittersweet playing his EMEA compatriot, but Hayden is still healthy. He's at 36 HP as well, and it looks like it will be a close win, if a win at all. The 1v1 in the end, Sivir versus TF. The last cast comes through, and Hayden gets taken down to 30 HP, but Tex makes down to 1.
Yeah, Tex really needs to struggle, and it doesn't help him that the players at the top of the lobby are just pressuring down on the entire lobby. Replay once again went all in up there. We just heard word from our admins, and Tex Summers, I don't know what else he can do. He didn't find anything. You can see the other players getting there. At least he has a Warwick now, but look at the state of that Mordekaiser. Like, no items on the Warwick. It's Warwick 1. It's a very, very sad Wolfie boy, and he's going up against Flancy.
Oh, pretty much the worst case scenario here going up against Flancy, because Fiddlesticks 2 is not going to be able to deal with that Vi. That Vi is just going to be too tanky. It's going to heal back up. The Ezreal is going to spike here. We're going to see, there it is.
The Runons is helping though. Can the Runons kill off the Ezreal,
Yeah, the Runons
bypassing
did
the
some
front
work.
line?
Woo.
The ace proc here might do it, but the shield is so big. Finally, it's taken down. And the Runons, I think, save the fight here, able to bypass the extremely tanky front line and kill off that backline one by one.
Yeah, that definitely made a big difference here, being able to skip that. So showing the power of Hurricane in that kind of situation. I really want to see some items on this Fiddle. It's the kind of thing where even just making it tanky, it'll get those laser core drones and be kind of a pain to deal with. We saw that last game with like the Blitzcranks that were being very tanky. So just something to try to save it here and hope that Hayden and Wasion Iverson bleed out first. Like I said, if you can turn this into a 6th, that's a great spot to get from this position. So hopefully that's what he has in store. 6 laser core is a big spike. So
yeah, we're hopping over to Wasion, the other player that's on Guardian Spirit, sharing with Ahau, who has been streaking for 5 rounds. We'll see what he has going on. It's a Riftwalker board. We have a Deathblade on the Jhin, and we have a fully itemized Viego 1.
Yeah, so little gold to work with. I was thinking is it maybe even correct to roll on 7, but it goes 8. Had only 10 gold to roll with, does not find the upgrade. He's on 8 HP. A precarious position for sure for Wasion. And
just keeps doing it.
The tempo is just so high from replay, kind of the opposite of game 5, punishing the rest of the lobby for not being able to hit.
Hitting the Warwick here was a very big spike. That's going to give him a decent amount of damage, so that'll be good here. And so, yeah, we go back to Wasion Iverson's board, and you can kind of look at these Jhin items, and, you know, the Gunblade isn't ideal, but it might be enough. But up against that Twisted Fate, this feels like the battle for, like, 7.
I mean, we'll see if Wasion can hold on just a little bit. That Jhin is giving out all his powers. The shots keep flying, but the Twisted Fate 2 might just be a little too big for Wasion's board. Tex Summers getting knocked out in 8th, and Wasion following suit in 7th. Ahau being knocked down as well to 14
Don't do it, Flancy. Don't do it. You're good. 67 HP. Push it to the limit, baby. You can go all the way here. We might see the biggest cash out of the tournament potentially with this situation that he had with a Vi 3 so early, and with Underground also from just so early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was Heist 4. We saw the Radiant item, so now we're in that really rich space. The Heist 5, Heist 6, this is the stuff that actually got buffed at that most recent change, and so that is going to be a crazy cash out. And like I said, it feels like Flancy is on track to get first here, and so everyone else is sort of like battling. Can Replay get that second place? You know, can someone else pull an upset here?
Yeah, and AOI needs to be scared, right? We're looking at Kerfuzzled Sport. It has been doing quite well. He's up there with the rest of the lobby, but the Lulu, fully itemized by now, takes out the Sivir and deals out massive damage to Kerfuzzled. And Hayden is going to take a big hit as well, but it will not be enough to knock him down. 3 HP to go in a Dream.
Not surprised, there's just too many boogeymen in this lobby where you face them and you're almost guaranteed to lose with how strong they've gotten. Flancy, of course, one of them, a how as well. If he's able to get that Lulu to cast without being CC'd, to not be stopped with that continuous damage from the Axiom Arc as well. Zephyr's now online for Hayden, can try and get fancy in terms of what he can pull up in the air and maybe change the outcome of a fight.
Yeah, this is where we're talking about, right? Like the Lulu, especially with that Axiom Arc, if you don't have a strong counter to that, you're just going to get destroyed. I look at Hayden's board, right, and I just see that's all Lulu fodder, right? Lulu's just going to eat all that up. Does go up against Flancy here, which I think actually okay, the Zephyr being big.
Yeah, Zephyr comes in, Shroud of Stillness rolled from the Thieves' Gloves on the Nico, is being a massive helper against this enemy backline as well. The Twisted Fate is on to the Vi and takes out everything. Janna into the backline, and Hayden lives at least one more round with very, very good positioning and a little bit of RNG luck on those Thieves' Gloves.
Yeah, so that was 8 out of 10. I feel like Flancy next round, he's going to get it. After the carousel, we're going to see that cash out. That's going to be Heist 5. He's hit that 40 health mark, which is my mark. So I think that's when you really got to cash out, and we're going to see a really big spike from here.
Kerfuzzled angling towards the Infinity emblem will get it as a first pick. Tactical loss coming through, of course, in this last fight. Both EMEA players trying to mount a comeback against some boards that looked very strong on paper, but seem to actually have their weaknesses.
Yeah, Replay, especially with that Warwick. And again, he's been the one that was applying that pressure. He had that 10 win streak, so in a really good spot. But, you know, how does he stand up against the Lulu? How does he stand up against the big cash out that we're about to see? You know, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I imagine Flancy next round really just going to spike massively.
EMEA is struggling, David.
A board we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Jukyu, the Jinx 3, Mana Zane online as well. The Vayne is a secondary carry. The Riven 3 as well. This is the good thing about Anima Squad. Players are not really playing it in most games, so you have a chance to 3-star all of your units quite easily.
At least every single broadcast game. I'll have to check the stats if that's once again just our broadcast luck. But it will be Kerfuzzled going up against Hayden. One of our two EMEA representatives will take a loss here. Unfortunately, we're gonna see and watch who's it gonna be. This time, no Thieves' Gloves luck for that Nico in the backline, and it looks like Kerfuzzled is just so much stronger than Hayden, knocking him out in 6th place. And Kerfuzzled just looking at those top 4 saying like, let me in.
Hits the Rammus 3, but in the end it gets Zephyr. So really good Zephyr from Hayden in the last few fights can really dictate the outcomes here. Flancy, surely it's time. Rascal Gloves, oh, thank you. The moment has come. The items are here. We were talking about damage potentially lacking in the item department. No longer.
3 Radiant items, including Radiant Thieves' Gloves, which is one of the most popular, and then an extra batch of components. So definitely in a very good spot here. Even has the remover so he can re-itemize this Ezreal with those Radiant items. This is quite the spike. This is really good here. I imagine the Ginsu's maybe goes on the Kaisa here. You got to get that Thieves' Gloves. Oh, goes with Thieves' Gloves on the Kaisa, Ginsu on the Lucian? Got a Radiant item sitting on the bench right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he knows it's against a Ghost and he'll win regardless, but it is a pretty strong Ghost. It's replays coming over here, and yeah, I mean, the Vi still standing, the Ezreal is still standing. He's getting support from the Janna. He's fine. He doesn't need to slam it, but will do it towards the end.
And Jukyu, as you mentioned, Mort, maybe a 3rd or a 4th now, pittering down to 2 HP, has to try and fight and stay alive. The matchmaking here will be so important. Flancy has become very, very strong. No matter how strong you were before this, I don't think you have a chance against a board like this.
The one thing that is a bit of a weakness here is that there's no like Gunblade or extra healing to keep that Vi alive. Vi's just got the Bloodthirster. You don't have something like a Redemption. And so that can be a weakness here, right? If like something like the Lulu spikes the Ezreal early, it can go the other way. So it's going to be about positioning away from that Ezreal. So we'll have to see. Oh, he has parallel now too also. This is interesting because parallel now allows you backline access. A lot of people don't like this with quick draw because it casts slower, but again, that backline access can be really valuable. And so again, something like Kerfuzzled here with that Sivir that you need to take down early, being able to just snipe that with the Ezreal can be massive.
Oh, Vayne 3 coming
Everyone's
through
hitting.
for Jukyu. He says, don't mind if I do. Taking her up as well. 1 MF away, but no gold in the tank. Is going to slam that Warmox last second onto the Riven as well. And it is going to be about the positioning of that Shroud of Stillness. Will it find its target? It's going to go onto the Kai'Sa, but the Ezreal and the Janna should have been the target here, probably are on the other side.
The Vi, though.
They're untouched.
The Vi taken down so quickly, but it does not matter in the end. It looks like the Ezreal and the quick draws have enough. The Vayne trying her best. The big pass from the Jinx in the end. The Prankster comes through, but Jinx dies in the process. Jukyu taken down, I believe, in 5th.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
Holding on.
Yeah, one of the big things there that we saw with Vi's weakness, the Jinx cast like 2 or 3 stuns in a row, and that allowed him to take that down before it could cast. But yeah, unfortunately, wasn't enough.
I also being knocked down here in 4th, which means Kerfuzzled has Monka steered this board all the way into at least a 3rd place, which wasn't always the easiest road for him in this round.
I think this is also a reason why we've talked about we haven't seen much Lulu, because again, that was a really good Lulu setup with Axiom Arc and everything, and ends up in a 4th. So kind of showing some of the weakness of that comp right now.
The double Zephyr comes through. Ezreal up in the air. The Lee Sin as well cannot help with shielding that Vi. And the Vi, if she gets CC, she might be taken down early if she can't get her blast shield online. But in the end, the Vi can hang on for maybe just enough. The Ezreal is still alive and casting. The quick draw burst come through. The MF's helping out as well. A big win, but not big enough yet to take down Replay.
Kerfuzzled is still alive. He has a dream and he's holding on. Of course, he was maybe only fighting a ghost copy, most likely, but still, he's here and he is fighting. That front line is massive, and even though the enemy boards have a little bit of backline access, he is trying his best to protect that Sivir.
Yeah, this feels like this all comes down to what's the matchup, right? If Replay faces Kerfuzzled, it's the battle for second. If they both have to face a Flancy Ghost, then, you know, it's the battle for second a different way. And so we'll have to see which way it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. It is going to be Flancy, however, on the side of Kerfuzzled. Can the Sivir dish one out? In comes the Ezreal ult, and it just hurts so much.
Oh my goodness!
Taken down.
Parallel!
Oh, that one hurt. Kerfuzzled being knocked down in 3rd, but I think we still have to congratulate him after this run. And Replay taking a 2nd, and with that, it is going to be a 1st place from Flancy here, right in a double knockout. Fantastic.
We should not have doubted China. We should not have doubted Flancy playing such a great